Our guest is Greg Abdouch. He lives the American dream and believes every Californian deserves the same opportunity as a lifelong resident of the Inland Empire. Greg has seen California's challenges firsthand, from rising crime and unaffordable living to a failing education system. He's running for state assembly to bring accountability, affordability, and safety back to our communities. Greg, running for the assembly in District 45. How are you, man?
I'm great. How are you, Michael?
Good. I like that. I picked up that little intro. Usually I pretend that I make up the intros. But I was really impressed with that one. I thought it was very well stated. And I got it off your website. So let's talk a little bit about it.
Awesome.
What you want to bring accountability, affordability, and safety back to our communities. Talk a little bit about, let's go point by point. What would bringing accountability back look like?
Well, so I've been involved in this political game now for about 4 years, pretty extensively. I've been going back and forth to Sacramento, and one of the biggest things that I've noticed that is extremely disheartening is we have politicians and legislators sitting up there in Sacramento that come down, talk to us, say what they're going to do, and then go up there and act in ways that have nothing to do with us or our interests or anything we've asked them to do. For example, I was standing up in Sacramento. We had over 4,000 people there going against a bill that would, AB 2223, that would allow basically murder of a child in the first gestation period all the way up until 28 days after birth. I watched person after person after person go against this bill, and then I watched the legislators vote it down. We're now we saw the population say that we want Prop 36 in place. We voted for it. We put it on the ballot. Yet our legislators still
Prop
aren't
36
funding
is, remind people what Prop 36 is.
Prop 36 is the bill that we just had on the last election, last ballot, that brings back safety and accountability and availability to our law enforcement to prosecute smash and grab crimes. When you go into the grocery store, the last thing you want is you and your family to watch some guy, or God forbid, get ran over by a shopping cart because he's trying to get out the door with what he doesn't want to pay for. And law enforcement can't do anything at this point.
Because they said, hey, if it's under, what was it, like $1,000? If it's under $1,000, then basically you get away with it for free.
Slap on the hand.
Yeah, it was nothing. So
Right.
This Prop 36 said, all right, you know what? If somebody goes in and steals $999 worth of stuff, we're still going to prosecute them. I think we're still going to arrest and prosecute them. It was that nitpicky,
Right.
law enforcement bill, right? Which makes a lot of sense in 49 other states, but for some reason, California, they thought, well, gee, why would we do that?
And we wonder why our prices are going up, why it's so difficult to manage and keep a business. I mean, what business can account for just allowing people to take their stuff?
Yeah.
That makes no sense.
So that's accountability and affordability. Talk about safety, especially on Gun Owners Radio. I think that it gets lost on people that the big reason we are so pro Second Amendment is because we are pro safety. A firearm is the most effective self-defense tool ever invented, ever created. That's why we are so adamant about the Second Amendment. It's not because we love this little hobby that we do. It's because it is our safety. So talk a little bit about what you mean by, how can we bring safety back to our communities?
So I'll talk on a personal level for this, and then I'll kind of expand if that's okay.
Yeah.
But I remember when I first got married 26, 27 years ago to my first wife. She wasn't a big gun person. We didn't have guns in the house. My dad wasn't a big gun person. So, I mean, I liked them. I shot before, but I really didn't have any guns. And 2:00 in the morning, there's a pounding on my door, and I'm woken up. I go downstairs. There's a guy on my front door asking for my wife by name, but it ended up not being my wife. It was some other girl named that had the same name. And I'm standing there with a stick in my hand, getting ready to defend my wife, my house, my home. And I'm like, this is insane. And that started me down the road of firearms and protecting myself and paying attention to everything and going through the proper channels to get a CCW to do the things that I need to do according to the law. And what's so disheartening to me is we have legislators now. We just saw a bill that just got pulled, but make no mistake about it, gun owners, like they put these bills in place and they pull them because the pressure's too high. They didn't pull them because they got smart. They pulled them because the timing wasn't right. So the bill that we just saw go through legislation that just got pulled would basically make it illegal for you to defend your own home with a firearm if somebody came into your home.
Oh, yeah.
And
that was a horrible bill. It was amazing that it got pulled. It was great that it got pulled, but I have a feeling it's going to be back in some form. And just the fact that he was comfortable enough to introduce this bill is in and of itself horrible and worrisome,
This is what we're dealing with in Sacramento. This just came to my mind. So during the Pacific Palisades fires, I had the opportunity to go down and do a ride along with some of the CAL FIRE people down there while the fires were going on and what was happening, and just seeing the deal down there and just the devastation in our community, right? While I'm doing that, there's a legislator's home that's right there off the beach. The home, nobody's even in the home, had Secret Service guarding the property to make sure nobody showed up to steal anything out of the home while the fires are going on.
Wow.
So explain to me how we have legislators that can send Secret Service to their home to guard their TVs and beds and clothes, yet we as citizens shouldn't be allowed to have a firearm in our house to protect our families.
Right. And if you do have that firearm, 11 rounds of ammunition is way too extreme.
What if there's 12 guys, Mike? What if there's 12 guys?
So, Greg, we jumped right in because I really liked what you had on your website and used it as your bio. Let's step back. Let's talk about its District 34. Is it entirely
45?
Excuse me, District 45.
Yes.
Nice, 45. You're a gun guy. That's a great district to run for it. So,
I am.
Is 45 entirely in the Inland Empire? Or tell us about your district. What are the demographics? What is it? What's in the district?
Yeah, I love that. So my district is primarily in the Inland Empire. It ranges pretty much from Redlands to Fontana and north of the 10 freeway. That's the big dividing lines. Obviously, when they start doing different division lines for districts, they get all wonky and crazy, but that's pretty much the lines. And my demographics are really people like you and me, Michael, honestly.
So
you've got a lot of good-looking guys. Guys love guns.
I'm with you.
Yeah. Shout out to Route 66 Gun Club, which is right there.
Nice.
There's some amazing businesses in there. There's some amazing people in there. The demographics are predominantly Spanish, Mexican American, and Black, and just hardworking Americans. I mean, you've got San Bernardino there, which when I realized what my district was and I really started diving into what this looks like, San Bernardino breaks my heart. You can't even drive through San Bernardino right now and not see homelessness, not see parks filled with tents, not see people that are hurting, that we haven't done anything for them. There's so much money being flooded into the Inland Empire right now for homelessness. And to me, it seems like we're getting worse.
It does seem like we're getting worse. What kind? I'll be honest with you. I have a lot of opinions on a lot of political issues. I've had conversations and solved all the world's problems at some point in my life. I can't figure out what to do on the homeless issue. It seems to be closely related to drugs and closely related to mental health. And I can't tell if it's a drug. Are they on drugs because of mental health, or are they mentally unhealthy because they're on drugs? I don't know what the solution is. What are a couple of meaningful, real, achievable things that can happen to help fix the situation?
Well, it's a huge situation, and it's obviously a big problem. And I truly believe that the way we help our homeless situation is we the people, get involved and help. So there's millions of dollars being flooded into the Inland Empire right now to deal with this issue. Why are we not putting it back into every single church that's in those areas? Why don't we go to those churches and say, hey, we have a problem. We want to use your congregation, use your church, use your facilities, and help. These people, a lot of them, it is a mental issue. And law enforcement, I believe the number is they have to have 11 touches before that person makes a decision to change. That's a problem. Like, I understand this person's in a situation, but why do we not have some kind of regulations or guidance or laws or whatever you want to call it that will actually allow law enforcement to intervene and get the state involved, get the community involved to help this person? Like, are we just going to leave these people on the street and wait to talk to them 11, 12, 15 times before they make a decision to make a difference? Like, how does that help the community? How does that help the person? How does that help everything that's involved? Like, it makes no sense to me.
So there's a couple of questions, some of my favorite questions to ask elected officials. One is, it's an interesting question. I don't know if there's really a right answer. You know what I mean? And it usually needs a lot of context, but it's an interesting thought exercise. If there is a law or bill that you're going to vote on, that you are 100% against, you are morally opposed to it, you think it's a bad bill all around for every reason, but you know for a fact, without a doubt, you've taken surveys, and you know for a fact that 90% of your constituents want you to support this bill. Do you vote for the bill because your constituents are the ones that voted for you and said, hey, we want you to vote for this bill? Or do you vote against this bill because those are your principles and those are your, that's your thought on the situation?
Well, you don't pull punches, do you, Michael?
It's a good question, right?
It's a great question. And I actually like the question, and I've thought about this. You said context, so let me go backwards a little bit. You don't know a lot about me personally, but some people that I'm sure see this do. I've ran a lot of campaigns. I've been involved in a lot of campaigns, and I've watched a lot of people kind of jump into these races because they make an emotional decision. They make a decision because they're tired of what's going on in the state. They're tired of what's happening, and they feel like they have to do something. And so they make an emotional decision. And I don't go against any of that. I've supported a lot of those people, and some of those people are in office right now, and they're doing an amazing job. I'm not that person. I have been strongly going through counsel, talking to different people, talking to different individuals, evaluating, understanding what this position actually is, understanding what it means to be an elected official. And the question that you're asking about, what do you do if there's something presented to you that I personally am totally against, and 90% of my constituents are for it? I have to vote for it. The reason why is because as an elected official, I'm not put in office to represent me, myself. I'm put in office by the people that are going to vote for me, and those people that are going to vote for me, if it's truly a 90% positive bill, and if I don't personally agree with it, it's not my decision I'm representing up there. It's collectively the community's decision. And that's the way I would have to.
That's the answer. Okay. Where do you get your moral compass? Where does your moral compass come from?
My moral compass comes straight from Christ himself. I'm a Christ follower. I attend Calvary Chapel, Chino Hills. I'm several Bible studies. My moral compass is directly from my heart, and it's from the Word of God. I knew 4 years ago when I got involved in all this politics and going after what was going on in our schools, what was happening to our kids, that I needed to have a strong foundation. I needed to get more into what was going on with my relationship with Christ, because I knew this was going to be a very serious spiritual battle. And I was going to come up against a lot of opposition. And that opposition wasn't going to come from just people. It was going to come from principalities and things that I couldn't see or deal with. And I had no other option other than to seek him. So that's where my morals comes from.
There you go. And, you know, whenever you talk to somebody who maybe is running for office or they started a new business or did some kind of big project in their life, there's one moment where they kind of an aha moment, like, you know, where they really made the decision, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start this. I'm going to run for this office, whatever it is. What was your moment? What was your moment when that really made you decide, I'm running for this office?
So there's two very distinct moments, and they're kind of strange. It's not like some explosion went off or anything like that. The two very distinct moments were this. Last election cycle, there were 3 days left to enter a ballot in 40. It's Eloise Reyes Gomez's seat. I think it's the 42nd now. They've moved lines around a little bit over here, so I'm not exactly sure, but I got a phone call from a very good friend and the Central Committee of the Republican Party, and they wanted to put my name in the hat for this seat. It was going to be an unopposed seat. It was open, and they wanted my name on the ballot. So we started doing the process. And in that process, I realized that the lines had been moved, and I was no longer able to run for that seat. And so we kind of tabled it, and I started praying about it. And then when the primary ballots came out, I opened it and looked down and saw that I was now in the 45th. And I was like, Cal, this is what I'm supposed to do. So it wasn't, it was literally seeing who I was going to run against and seeing where I now lived and realized this is where I need to do. And that was the first one. And the most significant. The second one.
If you were in, do you think if you were in District 9mm, you wouldn't have run because it's not really that? No, I'm kidding. All right, go ahead. What's the?
If
what's
it was
the second?
District 45, I would have ran.
What's the second one?
The second one, I was actually up at the state capitol, and I was doing a prayer event, and in that, I had a moment where it was night. We were praying over the Capitol, we were praying over schools, we were praying over kids, and I was all by myself. And if you guys have ever seen the state capitol at night, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's lit up. The trees are amazing. It's just a beautiful building. I mean, we should be proud as Californians to have a state capitol that looks like.
And there's no legislators there. It's even more beautiful.
Exactly. And I was sitting there, and I've had a moment, and I said, you know what, Lord? I said, if this is what you want, this is what I'll do. And that's the day that I made an initial decision to run for this race.
Good answer. What about what's one issue where you part ways with your political party? Is there an issue that you don't see eye to eye with the Republican Party on?
Well, that's an interesting question, because honestly, the Republican Party has changed a bit, and where their line has become gray, not black, right? So we've seen the Republican Party in the last convention talk about marriage and talk about the fact that marriage is questionable as to whether it should be between a man and a woman. And with the platform and that line, it is between a man and a woman. That's kind of a gray area. And for me, morally, I believe that marriage is a covenant between a man and a woman with God. And I waver on that. And so I guess that would be the one issue that kind of sticks out in my mind, that I'm a little bit off kilter from the Republican Party.
Interesting. And now you and I have spoken before. We've talked about guns here just briefly, but talk to people about the Second Amendment. Why is the Second Amendment important to you? And how are you going to defend us as gun owners? You know, if you get elected, go to Sacramento, or I should say when you get elected and go to Sacramento, what are you going to do to fight for gun owners?
So I feel gun owner is not only a privilege, it's a right. It truly is. Our founding fathers put the Second Amendment in the Constitution for a reason. It wasn't just so that you could have AR-15s. It wasn't so you could have high-capacity magazines. It wasn't any of that. It was to defend our freedom and to fight for justice against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I feel that if you are a moral person, if you can pass the background check, the extensive background check that we've put in place in California, there is absolutely no reason why you can't own a firearm of your choice. I'll be honest, I hunt in several different states, and it bothers me every time I go to a different state and I'm looking at weapons that are amazing and we can't own them in California. Why? It makes no sense to me. So my goal would be to bring back some of the gun manufacturers that we've lost. We've lost a lot of people, gun manufacturers that don't want to distribute their weapons here in California because they literally have to create a brand new firearm because of all the regulations that California puts in place. And it's ridiculous.
So I just want to clarify, you do or do not support, you don't support magazine limitations, you don't support the roster, you don't support the assault weapons ban or the semi-automatic rifle ban, right? That's
not at all.
Not at all. That you'd be totally in favor of getting rid of all three of those if a vote
tomorrow
happened. Yeah. Okay, good.
Tomorrow.
All right. Well,
not only I would favor of like Trump has floated the idea of a federal CCU, that it's across all states. I'd be in 1,000% support of that.
Some variety of reciprocity.
Reciprocity. I don't see a reason why, if pass a background and my sheriff is willing to sign my car and tell me that that's okay, why should we not be able to carry it everywhere? My life is just as important in California as it is in Michigan, that is in Washington, it is in Colorado. Why can I not defend myself over there?
Absolutely agree with you.
So
what's something else you want people to know about you, know about your race? What's a message you definitely want to make sure that people hear from you and get across?
So one of the things that I want to make everybody knows is I am running this race on common sense. We have seen so many things change in our world and in our state since COVID. We have a president in office right now that we voted for. A lot of us in California voted for. A lot of counties in California voted for him, including the Inland Empire, which is where I'm running. And we have a state that's using our tax dollars now to make sure that our state doesn't follow his policies. I believe 1,000% that if we don't fight the battle for our kids and our kids' education and our kids' safety, we lose all of this. The reason why so many people have left California and gone to other states is primarily over their kids. We as adults can take a lot. We as adults can swallow a lot. But when you start having the government interfere in your child's education, in your child's safety, and in your child's upbringing, that's where parents say, no, not anymore. And that's the biggest thing that I'm running on is our kids. Our kids have to be defended. Our kids have to be educated. And our kids need a chance and an opportunity to succeed and to grow in a state that believes in them.
Great, Greg. How do people find your website?
Abdouch for CA.com, and that's it.
That's it. Okay, great. Great, man. Thank you so much, and I appreciate you being outspoken about the Second Amendment. I appreciate you taking the time to come on Gun Owners Radio. So thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon, man.
Thanks so much, Michael. I appreciate it. And to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. God bless everybody.
Great. See you, Greg.
See you later.
Our interview with Greg was brought to you by Cargo, cases and rugged gear outfitters in El Cajon. Their website is cargostores.com, or go visit them at 423 Broadway in El Cajon. Definitely go visit them. These guys are really, really awesome. They're great supporters. They have a lot of really cool products. but especially cases for guns, cases for cameras, whatever you need to carry. They'll customize it. They have all kinds of different sizes. They'll engrave it, do whatever you need. If you need to protect your gear while you're on the go, look no further. Cargo has the perfect case for you. So if you need it protected and you want it customized, Cargo is the place to go. Did you know you can get a Gun Owners Radio bonus when you buy a case at the store? Cargo will also add a desiccant pack to keep your firearms safe, dry, and rust-free. Other places sell rechargeable desiccant packs for $15. You get it for free. Just mention Gun Owners Radio or GOR. Great products, great prices, and uncommonly good service. Cases and rugged gear outfitters, Cargo. Check them out. Hey, thanks for watching Gun Owners Radio. I hope you loved that clip. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and follow us on social media. And check out our website at gunownersradio.com.